I'm 82 years old now. My hands ache when the weather turns cold, and I don't walk as fast as I used to. But my memory is sharp, too sharp. I remember everything about that day: the heat, the smell of the cut grass, and the exact look on her face when she decided my life didn't matter. 14 years. That's how long they kept me in a cage. 14 years stolen from a man because a rich white girl couldn't handle the consequences of her own mess. Let me tell you how it goes when you're invisible to the people you work for. I was in my early 60s back then. Most folks my age were looking at retirement, slowing down, playing with their grandkids. I didn't have that luxury. I worked. I was a groundskeeper for a man named Arthur Henderson. He had a massive estate out in the wealthy part of the county. Iron gates, long gravel driveway, hedges that had to be perfect. I kept my head down. I did my job. I've been working around wealthy white folks my whole life, and you learn the rules early. You don't speak unless spoken to. You don't make sudden movements. You make sure they are comfortable with your presence. You become a fixture, like a lawnmower or a rake. Arthur had a daughter, Chloe. She was in her early 20s, maybe 22. She was trouble. Everyone knew it. She drove fast cars her daddy bought her, threw loud parties when he was out of town, and had a rotation of shady friends coming in and out of those iron gates at all hours of the night. She looked right through me. To her, I was just the old black man who picked up the red plastic cups off the lawn after her friends trashed the place. I never said a word about it. It wasn't my business. I just wanted my paycheck so I could keep my lights on. It was a Tuesday afternoon, late August. The heat was heavy, the kind that makes your clothes stick to your skin. I was out back, near the detached garage, fixing a broken weed whacker. My old canvas duffel bag was sitting right there against the wall. I always brought it with me. Kept my thermos in there, a change of shirt, my arthritis medicine. I heard tires squealing. Chloe's car came tearing up the driveway. She slammed on the brakes, nearly hitting the stone fountain. She jumped out, and she was panicking. Real panic. Pacing back and forth, looking over her shoulder toward the main road. She ran into the house. A minute later, she came running out back. She had a heavy-looking plastic grocery bag in her hand. She looked frantic. She saw me sitting by the garage, and she froze for a split second. Then she saw my duffel bag. She walked right over to it. She didn't say excuse me. She didn't explain. She unzipped my bag, shoved the plastic bag inside, zipped it back up, and walked away. I stood up. I said, "Miss Chloe, what are you doing with my things?" She looked back at me. Her eyes were wide, and her hands were shaking. "Shut up," she said, just like that. "Just shut up and don't touch it." Before I could even process what she had put in my bag, I heard the sirens. Not one siren, a lot of them. They were coming fast, and they were turning into the driveway. 3 police cruisers pulled up onto the grass. Doors flew open. Cops got out with their hands on their holsters. My heart dropped. You know that feeling. Every black man knows that feeling. It's a cold block of ice right in the pit of your stomach. Your brain shifts into a different gear, survival gear. I didn't reach for my bag. I didn't reach for the weed whacker. I put both my hands empty by my sides, and I stood perfectly still. I didn't make eye contact, but I watched their hands. You always watch their hands. Arthur came running out of the house. "What is the meaning of this? Do you know whose property you own?" The lead officer ignored him. He was looking right at Chloe. "We got a tip," the officer said. "We know what you picked up, and we know it's here." Chloe started crying. Not real crime, that tactical crime, the kind that makes men want to protect her. She ran behind her father. "I don't know what you're talking about," she sobbed. "I just got home." "We're searching the premises," the officer said. They didn't have a warrant yet, but Arthur told them to go ahead. He was so sure of his daughter. He was so sure his money and his name would clear this up. 2 officers walked around the side of the house, heading straight for the garage, heading straight for me. "Hands where I can see 'em," one of them barked. "They're right here, officer," I said. My voice was low, calm, unthreatening. "I'm just a gardener. I just work here." The cop didn't care. He grabbed me by the shoulder, spun me around, and pushed my chest against the rough stucco wall of the garage. He kicked my legs apart. He patted me down hard. "Whose bag is this?" the other officer asked. "That's mine, sir," I said. "Just my lunch and some medicine in there." The officer opened it. He pulled out my thermos. He pulled out my old flannel shirt. And then he pulled out the plastic bag Chloe had shoved in there. He ripped the plastic open. Inside were bricks, vacuum-sealed bricks of cocaine, a lot of it, trafficking weight. "Well, well," the officer said. They slammed the cuffs on me right there. They put them on so tight the metal bit into my wrist bones. I didn't complain. I didn't say a word about the pain. I knew if I complained, they'd find an excuse to put me on the ground. "That's not mine," I said quietly. "The young lady put it in there right before you pulled up." The cop laughed, actually laughed. He turned me around and walked me toward the cruisers. Arthur was standing by the porch, holding Chloe. He looked at me with pure disgust. "Mr. Henderson," I called out, "you know me. I've worked for you for 5 years. I don't do this." Arthur didn't even blink. "I trusted you on my property," he said. "Get this animal off my land." Chloe didn't look at me. She buried her face in her father's shoulder. She was safe. The old black man was going to take the fall, and she was going to sleep in her big soft bed that night. They put me in the back of the cruiser. It was hot in there. Smelled like sweat and old vinyl. I sat there with my hands pinned behind my back, watching my whole life disappear through the reinforced glass. The system doesn't care about the truth. It cares about convenience, and I was the most convenient thing they had ever seen. I got a public defender, a young guy who looked like he hadn't slept in a week. He met with me in the county jail for exactly 8 minutes. "Look," he said, flipping through a thin file. "They found a trafficking amount of narcotics in your personal bag. You confessed the bag was yours. You have no alibi." "I told the police," I said. "The girl put it in there. Check the bag for her fingerprints." The lawyer sighed. He looked at me like I was a stubborn child. "We're not dusting for prints on a plastic grocery bag, man. She's Arthur Henderson's daughter. You're an old yard worker. If we go to trial and you try to blame the wealthy white girl, the jury is going to bury you. They will give you life." "But I didn't do it." "It doesn't matter what you did. It matters what they can prove. I can get you a plea deal. 15 years. You'll be out in 10 with good behavior." 10 years. I was in my 60s. 10 years was a death sentence. I refused the plea. I told him I wanted a trial. I wanted to stand in a courtroom and tell the truth. I still had this foolish idea that justice meant something. The trial was a joke. It lasted 3 days. The prosecutor painted me as a desperate, broke old man running a side hustle out of a rich man's backyard. They put Arthur Henderson on the stand. He wore a sharp suit. He spoke well. He told the jury how disappointed he was in me. Then they put Chloe on the stand. She wore a modest dress. Her hair was pulled back. She looked innocent. She swore she had never seen those drugs in her life. She said she was terrified of me, that I had always given her creepy looks while I worked. I sat at the defense table, keeping my hands folded in my lap. I didn't show anger. I didn't shake my head. If a black man looks angry in a courtroom, he's guilty. If he looks sad, he's guilty. You have to be a statue. You have to be nothing. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty. The judge looked down at me from his bench. He didn't see a hard-working man. He saw a stereotype. He gave me 14 years. Maximum sentence for the charge. 14 years. You don't just lose time in prison. You lose your humanity. I was an old man in a place built for violence. I kept to myself. I mopped floors. I worked in the laundry. I read books. I didn't talk much. You learn to live inside your own head. My wife passed away in year 4. I couldn't go to the funeral. I sat on my bunk and stared at the cinder block wall for 2 days straight. That was my morning. My grandkids grew up. They stopped writing after year 7. It's hard to keep writing letters to a grandfather you barely remember, sitting in a place you don't understand. I didn't blame them. Every single day I woke up, I thought about Chloe Henderson. I thought about how easy it was for her to throw my life away to save her home. She probably didn't lose a single night of sleep over it. She probably went to brunch the next Sunday. I survived. That's what we do. We survive. I got out when I was 76. They gave me a cheap suit that didn't fit, a check for $40 and a bus ticket. The world had moved on without me. Cars looked different. People were staring at little glass screens in their hands all the time. Everything was louder, faster. I had nothing. No savings, no home. I lived in a halfway house for older parolees. A room with 3 other old men coughing all night. I tried to find work. Who's going to hire a 76-year-old black man with a felony drug trafficking conviction? Nobody. I swept floors at a local barber shop just to have enough money to buy decent coffee. A few years ago, I had a buddy of mine at the barber shop look up the Henderson family on the internet. I just had to know. Arthur died of a heart attack a few years back. Chloe is married. She lives in a massive house out in the suburbs. She has 3 kids. She runs some sort of charity foundation. She looks happy in the pictures. She looks perfectly fine. She got her life. She got her family. She got her future. And she bought it with my 14 years. People ask me if I'm bitter. Bitter isn't the right word. Bitter implies I'm surprised by what happened. I'm not surprised. I'm exhausted. I'm tired of a world where my life is just collateral damage for someone else's privilege. I'm tired of knowing that I did everything right, kept my head down, worked hard, stayed out of trouble, and it still wasn't enough to protect me. My knees lock up. My hands shake. I don't have much time left on this earth, but I'm still here. I'm still breathing, and I'm still telling the truth. I'm leaving my story here on this channel because I know I'm not the only one. If you felt this, if you've been through a system that didn't see you as human, drop a comment. I'll be reading them all. And subscribe, because there are a lot more of us with stories that need to be heard. God bless you all. I'm out.